When you were thinking about it, when you thought that Maroon might not clear you, or they might just keep sending you until someone said no, because I know you were telling me, and it's public knowledge, that your contract is up very soon.
September 1st.
September 1st. Were you about to go?
Yes.
And
100%. Yeah. So like, I had, at that point, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to wrestle. Like, I love to wrestle. Like, it's just a part of me. And not only that, I didn't feel like I got I didn't get a satisfying conclusion, right? I wasn't ready to be done. It's interesting because had I just kept wrestling, when I got cleared in 2015, like if 2015, a couple weeks after that concussion, and they put me back in there and I wrestled, by now I might be ready to be like, okay, I'm ready to be done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But because it was taken away, now I'm just like, I was ready to I wanted to go to kind of New Japan, Ring of Honor, and CMLL. Like I'd done I've done a little bit in Mexico, but I always wanted to do, even though there's no money there, like in comparison,
sure.
I wanted to do like mask and hair matches and all that kind of stuff. And so
I think you probably could have done some decent business there, because there is money there, and plus with you coming in with your name value, like I started my career in Mexico, so I know what you're saying. I've had mask matches and hair matches in Arena Mexico, just being in there, and it's part of the journey.
Yeah. Well, and because I was trying to research, like, okay, how would I wrestle if I come back? Because I need to wrestle kind of a safer style. Austin had actually gotten on me about that when I came back from my neck surgery. He was like, he had given me a call. It was actually, it's crazy because like 1996 when he did the Austin 316 promo, I was still in high school, right? Like just this fan, right? And then the first time he called, he's like, "Whoa! I just got called by Steve Austin." Yeah.
And the thing with Steve is he's not much of a texter. He's still the last guy still talk to on the phone.
Yes, absolutely.
He only wants to call.
Yeah. And so he called, but he had called me and he's like, it's not my place to tell you this, but I think I should. And we talked for about 45 minutes about the need to change my style and all that kind of stuff. And so I was looking at, okay, what's the best way to do it? Because, he's talking about Jerry Lawler, and I love watching Jerry Lawler wrestle, but you can't necessarily translate Jerry Lawler's style to WWE now, and especially with the way things are. And so like mixing things, and who are the guys, like Negro Casas is still awesome.
And he's 10 years older than me, so he's 57.
Yeah, so
he's still awesome.
Still awesome, and still doing his thing. And so it's like, so that kind of stuff. And I'd gotten really deep into this lucha lore, right? Like I'd gotten into this deep 80s lucha thing where I was just like trying to find as much 80s lucha as I could on YouTube, which is just weird. There's so many little rabbit holes to go down into. It's so different
from today's lucha. Too.
Yeah.
The high flyers like Super Astro who did like a diving headbutt or something.
Yeah. And so I just did this deep dive into 80s lucha, and so I was just like, man. And then I became obsessed with like, I want to do mask and hair matches. I want to go around and collect all these masks, and then whoever their big masked guy is, then he'll take my hair and maybe my beard too, and all that kind of stuff. So
you wanted to do that, and then obviously now with the Ring of Honor New Japan, you look at guys like Young Bucks and Kenny and Cody. I mean, they're ruling the world. Outside of here, and I could see you obviously would have fit in there in one day if you need be.
Well, and one of the things that I thought is one of the things that Bullet Club especially is very hot, right? But they need somebody to go against, right? And so it's like as far as something that would draw money and interest and bring independent wrestling to another level, like I thought that's it. And then you came in and just did it. And so it's just like but it's true. Like the New Japan's, like there was more interest in the New Japan Dome show ever before in America, because all of a sudden, okay, you've got the Bullet Club who's super hot, Kenny Omega who's super hot, and then now you've got Chris Jericho who's in it too, and now it's like, holy cow, this match,
right?
So it's like that's what I was thinking as far as like a long-term thing that we could do that for a couple of years, right?
It opens up like a dozen dream matches. Just one guy coming in can open up, like you said, like months and years of programming.
Right?
So, and because you had worked for Ring of Honor before.
Yes.
But now to go back there, they're pretty hot. Like independent wrestling is so hot right now. Probably more than maybe ever since maybe the 80s or something.
And it's crazy because there's the availability thing, right? And so it's interesting. I read a lot, like just a lot. And so reading, so there's there's no show like, I want to say like the Johnny Carson show that everybody watches, right? Everybody across society watches this one show. You have people who are like, I love Breaking Bad, or you have people who are like, I like Game of Thrones, or whatever it is, and not everything, but these people who get into it, they get deep into it.
Right.
And now the people who are deep into, there's so many people who are, there's less general fans maybe of pro wrestling in the United States, but there's more deep fans than there ever have been before. And the ability to, like, if you were a wrestling nerd like I was in high school who just couldn't see enough wrestling, well, actually, you can't, there's an endless amount of wrestling for you to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so I mean, it's created all these new hardcore fans who are deep into professional wrestling and follow things like Ring of Honor or Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, or follow the stuff in Japan, or follow what's going on in Mexico and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it's really neat.
Were you watching a lot of the stuff?
No.
Yeah.
So
I'm the same.
Yeah. So I'm interested.
So when I did the Tokyo Dome show, there's a lot of people saying, like, you know, wrestling fans, God bless, but how's Jericho going to keep up with Kenny Omega? And how's he going to do it? And it's like, I don't have to keep up with anybody, because we're going to do the match my way. Obviously, I know what Kenny can do and his style, but it's like, I'm not going to go in there and start taking, dragon suplexes off the top rope into the ring. Like you mentioned, like, you're watching the style of everybody's matches. Like, the style is good wrestling is good wrestling. That's the style.
Absolutely.
And I was laughing about that when people were like, oh my God, it's the best match of Jericho's career and whatever. Like, whether you think so or not, the fact that anybody even doubted me or would doubt you on if you can do a certain style, of course we can. This is what we do.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, it's always interesting to me, because I think the difference in styles is actually what makes things interesting. If you just have the same people around all the time, just working the same kind of style, like you coming in makes it, what is this going to be? It's going to be
exactly.
It's going to be different,
Right.
So I always think that that's unique and interesting in any form of entertainment. So
it's interesting too, because like I've been working here for 17 years after working around the world like you did, and going to New Japan, just seeing like the big difference in, like, we talk about WWE style. Basically what WWE style is knowing how to put on a proper match. And when I say that, it's like there's a lot of stuff going on in the New Japan style where it's like very indie-rific. A lot of cheap shots in front of the ref and just stuff like that, stuff that we would never do,
right?
Because it just doesn't make sense,
right?
The guy will pull out a chair and hit somebody right in front of Red Shoes. I'm like, that's a DQ,
right?
Like, why is that not a DQ? And so that's why, like, for our match, we had it as a no DQ match, because I didn't want to have those bad habits that they have there,
right?
And not saying that, I mean, it's just the Japanese way, and that's like working here,
right?
We really do learn a lot about that sort of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think there's inherent flaws in any style, because once you get involved in kind of the same people running things for the same time, they have a certain viewpoint on it that outsiders will probably look at it and be like, hey, wait a second, why is this happening, or why is that happening? And the same thing with New Japan or with Lucha. Some people watch Lucha and they're like, I don't get it. And that was me for the longest time. I'd watch it.
That doesn't make any sense either. Start watching it.
I don't get it. And then you start to understand, oh, this is what this is, and this is what that is, or whatever it is, and this is just the rules. This is how it operates. Whether it's right or wrong, it doesn't matter.
It's really strange how every fall, whenever one guy loses, the other two lose really quickly right after. It's a very strange thing. You mentioned Cody, and you guys used to actually travel together. What do you think of him now in comparison to when he was here? And did he talk to you before he left and ask your advice at all? Or?
So I don't remember if we talked much before. He didn't. I don't think he necessarily asked my advice, but I think he's done such a great job as far as, like, he's gone out and he was willing to work hard, and he was also willing to not. He didn't jack up his price, right? He wasn't like. He was like, I want to work. What's a price that can get me booked every weekend? 3 shows a week every weekend, because I want to prove to everybody that I'm better than what WWE made me. As opposed to a lot of people who's like, oh, well, I was a WWE guy, so
$5,000 a show.
$5,000 a show. It's like, well, most promoters can't afford that, and so and he's just been smart because he's so different, and he's so different from the independent wrestlers that are known as independent wrestlers, right? And that's what makes him awesome and what makes it unique, and like it's a difference in style. So And he brings so much. I don't watch it. I've only watched a couple episodes, but the Young Bucks YouTube show, that he's so good in that, and he's so funny, and he's
Being
like,
the elite,
yeah,
he's really come into his own. Like the last time I saw him, I was like, dude, you are now a bona fide main eventer.
yeah,
You know, like there's no doubt, and he wasn't here.
yeah.
And that's something that I think a lot of guys should take notice of. You know, I mean, some guys have. I mean, Ryback, he left and nothing really happened, or Swagger. But Cody's a good example of somebody who left on his own and really showed what he could do.
Well, and I think it's also the attitude that you have when you leave. Like, what do you want out of leaving? Like, because he left because he wanted to leave. He didn't leave because his contract was up or they fired him or anything like that. He left because, you know what? I am better than what they're giving me. So I'm going to go out and prove it.